All right. Anyway, so the UK has a law that lets the government spy on the internet to a very great extent, and it even controversially appears to make it possible for them to sort of outlaw end-to-end encryption. A lot of argument about that. And the FBI wants to continue their version of that, which is Section 702, which lets the FBI observe foreign people, but supposedly not American citizens, although it'll probably come to that in various ways. Like catching them up by coincidentally, they say. Anyway, then their big thing here is that we're supposed to be very, very afraid of the Chinese. That's been the drumbeat for the last 5 or 7 years, is that the Chinese are some huge threat to us. This is a question I seem to have gotten many times. You should not intercept live traffic with Wireshark because Wireshark is not secure enough. It contains packet dissectors written by amateurs that are not very secure. So the correct use of Wireshark is to analyze saved captures that you captured with TCP dump. Anyway, all right. So we'll see what comes of that. Sam Altman wants to buy $7 trillion worth of chips for AI, which is a monstrous number. The entire world economy, I think, is $100 trillion. So that's quite impressive. It is worth noting, Sam Altman is currently considered a hero because he's the head of OpenAI, and the attempt to throw him out failed. But I think people don't remember how crazy he is. He also has been pushing something called WorldCoin, which is supposed to be a crypto coin for universal basic income for the whole world, and involves paying people to carry this globe around and do retinal scans of everybody in the whole world. So they'll be able to identify the people and tell them from the artificial intelligences, because he really believes that we're going to have artificial general intelligence that can pass for people, and we're going to have a problem with all the AI bots imitating people and not being able to tell them apart online. So, yeah. Anyway, it's so he's got a really extreme proposal here, and we'll see how far that goes. But certainly there's a lot of interest in AI, just his dreams are a bit extreme. Yeah, well, everybody in Silicon Valley, the AI is valuable, and Microsoft, I think, is the leader of reasonable, intelligent AI. They're putting in GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Copilot, and those are commercial offerings that do something that makes sense. They don't pretend it's going to turn into a living being and take over the world. But all the startups in Silicon Valley belong to this religion, which makes about as much sense as Scientology, where they do believe that artificial general intelligence is right around the corner and that robots are going to replace humans, and that's just science fiction. So it's a disturbing thing, kind of reminiscent of, say, the 90s when the internet first started, and Yahoo and the other internet companies came out that seemed to be run by irresponsible children who didn't understand anything about business or finance. And similarly, the old established people sort of freaked out and said, we're just going to have madness with these people becoming important in finance with zero comprehension of what they're doing. And, having the same reaction to the stupidity of the founders of these companies. But I'm comforted by their partnership with established companies like Microsoft, which are not crazy and which understand their role in the world, that they make a product, they sell it, they make money, they employ people, but they're not creating a new god. Anyway. All right. And so this is something I was unaware of. I've heard of this thing where you try to analyze the activities of your own employees to try to see who's disloyal and such, but apparently they're using AI to do it now, and a lot of big companies are doing it. They are feeding all the employee messages on internal message boards, and I guess email and such, into something which uses AI to try to decide if any of these people are doing bad things. The main product is where they analyze employee sentiment. So you find out what's the general mood of the employees. Are they worried about layoffs and stuff? But you also have another product called Discovery, which will then identify people and find out who is doing toxic things on your network. So anyway, In the past, there were living humans reading all the emails coming out of companies, and now I guess it makes some sense for AI to be doing it. But the error rate of AI is currently very high, so I would imagine these systems will tend to finger the wrong people. But anyway, it's interesting to know that it's happening. Shell is closing its California hydrogen stations. I didn't know we had any. Apparently there were about 7 hydrogen stations in America where you could refill your hydrogen car, and nobody wants hydrogen cars. And it turns out that there's no steady supply of hydrogen on an industrial scale. They can't get the hydrogen. There's nobody manufacturing it in America in sufficient quantity, so they're closing the stations. So I guess if anybody owns a hydrogen car in America, they got a big problem. I know the head of Toyota is pushing hydrogen in Japan, but it really hasn't taken off in America yet. The big thing, of course, in America is electric vehicles. And Canada is going to ban Flipper Zeros, apparently, because they think you can get into cars with them, which is pretty ridiculous. And they correctly say, no, all the Flipper Zeros do is replay static infrared signals and radio signals, like to open a garage door, and nobody would open a car with that kind of signal, and any car that's less than 30 years old, they say, would not have that simple an entry point. But anyway, many people are freaking out over Flipper Zeros. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you do have to transport hydrogen cold. It seems like you'd have to transport cold or under a lot of pressure. Anyway, that's enough of the news. Let me stop this.